welcome to Lunch with Alsace. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Jill Riley. I'm the wine director for Meadowood here in the Napa Valley. And today I'm so excited to be talking with Felix Meyer of Domaine Meyer-Fonné, none other than Alsace, of course. Felix, how is the weather today in Alsace?
The weather is very nice. It's first day of spring for us, and the weather is just like we ask for spring. Very nice weather, sun, so just perfect.
Looking like a good vintage so far. It's early, right? But hey.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, let's dive right in because we like to keep this short and sweet. Little half-hour lunch here. So, Felix, tell us a little bit about. You took over your family winery in 1992, right? But you were very much involved prior to that. Tell us a little bit about the background and history of Domaine Meyer-Fonné.
So yes, the Domaine, it's a family estate. I come in the Domaine at 1992, and I joined my parents who runs the estate since 1962. So, and before it's my grandfather Felix who runs this family estate. So the first mayor comes in Katzenthal in 1732. So the family works the vineyard since 1732. So
really not particularly. I mean, here in the States, that sounds like so much history to us. Really not particularly uncommon for your region in Alsace, right? That's pretty common to have those multi-generational wineries, domains.
Yes, it's quite common to get family estate with long history. Yeah, sure.
And I'm curious what you think sets apart, or perhaps I should say that, what do you think of as kind of your signatures at your domain that maybe some of your neighbors are not doing? Do you feel like you have kind of a signature style or expression to your wines?
Yes, what I can tell you that it's that Meyer-Fonné turns to work really the terroir wine since now 30 years. We really turns to work terroir. So now at the Domaine we work on 6 different Grand Cru vineyard and 4 different lieux-dits or Premier Cru. So a real the DNA of Meyer-Fonné is that is a real terroir wine. Yeah, that's, and I can say in Alsace we make great dry wine. So the Domaine makes mostly dry style wine.
Wonderful. And you're working organically, correct?
Yes, the Domaine is runs organically since now 13 years. Yeah.
Amazing. And I know, it was so interesting. I had an opportunity to speak with you just very, very briefly, just so we weren't meeting for the first time on this live the other day. And something you said really stuck with me, that you were embracing some of the concepts involved with biodynamic farming, but that you weren't dogmatic about it, that you use those concepts and the principles in biodynamic farming that worked for you and for the vines, but you weren't forcing any of those principles that maybe were not a good fit, was sort of what I took from that. Is that a pretty accurate summation?
Yes, you are right. I use some of the biodynamic methods. Mostly all water runs with a moon. that for me works very well when we work the vine, when we plant a new vineyard, when we make bottling, racking, all, and we take care about moon. That's for us very important. You can see when you have a wine who ferments in the cellar, when the moon, you can see how that the fermentation goes much quicker, and also with the sea, les marées, so we really do careful about that. And also some plants for the spraying. We also use some order. I'm not so sure that it will work. I try some things and I'm not really sure. So I use what I think it works. Yeah.
I love that. I think, I'm skeptical of anyone who says that they've got it all figured out, right? You've got to be always wanting to push forward and make better and experiment to do that. So, well, I think that, it's 9 a.m. here in California and I haven't had a glass of wine yet. So I think we should dive in. We have 3 wines today.
Yes.
The Riesling Reserve, the 2020.
Yes.
And also have the Wiener Schlossberg Riesling.
Yes.
19. And have the Pfefferkopf, the 2019 as well. And so what order do you recommend tasting these in, Felix? What do you like to do?
I think we can start with Riesling Reserve.
Great.
2020.
Wonderful.
Yes. I have it. So
situated for anyone. I mean, I think most of the people who are on with us now have a good sense of kind of where Alsace is, but for anyone who's, just getting to know the region, just situate us a little bit within France, if you would.
Yes. So Alsace is the east part of northeast part of France. It's just next the German border. The Rhine River is around 30-minute driving from our house, and it's a continental vineyard. So it's very cold in winter and very hot and dry during the growing season. So what I can also tell you that it's one of the driest, Colmar, the city very close from Katzenthal. It's one of the driest town in France with Perpignan. So it's very special climate in Alsace with this very low raining around 500 millimeters rain a year.
Wonderful. Well, this smells fantastic so far. This is a wine I'm very happy to have in my mouth at 9 a.m. actually.
Yeah. One of the particularity of Alsace is also a big mosaic of terroir. It's one of the area in the world you can find very different kind of geology in a very small area. So that's really unique for Alsace. It is a very big kind of geology. So here in Katzenthal, we have a granitic soil. After the Wiener Schlossberg we try next is pure granite. And for example, in this wine, in the Riesling Reserve, it's a blend between different plots and different kind of soil. So in this wine, we blend plots in Riquewihr on the marl and wet sandstone soil, so more rich and deep soil, with more light and stony soil, with like granite and gravel. So in this wine, you can find around 3 different kind of geology.
I mean, it's beautiful. There's so many lifted floral notes to this wine that are just delightful, like white peach and some honeysuckle and white flower for me. There's such a beautiful texture. I mean, the wine finishes dry, absolutely, but the texture of this, there's a little bit of like an oiliness and a richness to it that I just find so delightful. And I just, as someone who is obviously working with food often, my mind races toward what do I want to eat with this, even though I could drink it absolutely by itself. What are some of your favorite things to have with this?
I think Riesling are really great wine to match with all the sea dishes, all comes from a river or sea. So fish, lobster, mussel. So it's a perfect wine to match with this kind of food. Sure, also in Alsace we have the traditional choucroute, who works also well with Riesling. Yeah, I think this cuvée, it's just interesting because the marly soil in Riquewihr just brings this body a bit more wide, a bit more power to the wine, and the more gravelly and stony soil bring the finesse and delicatesse. Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's delicious. Where should we go next? Should we do the Kieferkopf Pinot Gris, or do you want to stick with Riesling?
Perhaps more. We stay on Riesling.
Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to the Wienig Schlossberg Riesling and 2019 vintage. Tell us a little bit about 2019.
So 2019 was quite a warm vintage regarding the medium temperature level, but it was not an early vintage. So the vines, the growing season starts a bit late. So and the temperature in summer was we get not so much very hot days. So the medium temperature was high during all the season, but no extreme day, no canicles or yeah. So the profile, the style of the wine of 2019 still very classic for Alsace, with a very good acidity, good ripeness. I think we start to pick the 11th of September, something like that. So very classic picking and style of wine.
Lovely.
So totally different style of Riesling. This Wienig Schlossberg comes from granitic soil in Katzenthal. Granitic soil are generally very steep terroir, so very hard to walk. We walk by hand or with very small engine. Yeah, it's generally very early ripening terroir. Yeah.
And do you pick typically all in one pass, or do you go back through a few times?
No, we pick in one pass, because we need ripe grapes, but not overripe grapes. So, and this one part of the plots from this wine are extremely steep, and it's generally it's one of the plots in Riesling we start generally the first plot of Riesling we pick is one part of the Wiener.
Wonderful. And are you sticking, when you're in the winemaking here, are you staying pretty classic with it in terms of, you know, blocking any sort of malolactic fermentation and keeping it sort of classic for the region, or have you been experimenting a bit?
So I can say it's still classic, but also I can say only hand picking, whole grapes, whole bunches in the press. Quite long pressing, around 6 to 8 hours pressing, very gentle pressing, but long pressing. I love to extract all the juice, no, not only the first juice, because the last juice get also a lot of character to the wine. And after the juice, we put it in a typical Alsacian foeder, big oak foeder, generally 20-30 hectoliters of foeder. And fermentation starts with indigenous yeast. And generally, the fermentation is 2 months until 3 months. But for this vintage, we get a quite long fermentation until June, after, so around 7 months fermentation. So very long, quiet fermentation. And after, the wine stay on the fine lees until the day of the bottling. So it's a very long, quiet fermentation and vinification and élevage in a really traditional Alsatian food. So I can say it's the old tradition in Alsace is this kind of winemaking, yeah, and élevage.
Oh. And the wine itself, I mean, it's beautiful. This is where I start to get like some of those kind of slightly exotic spice notes, and once again, incredibly floral. I mean, everything you expect from a Riesling, but from an Alsatian Riesling, you know, with that lovely dry finish. But oh my goodness, the way that it lingers and the quality of richness and ripeness of fruit on the palate is just, it's pretty exquisite. I have to admit, you'll notice my bottle is missing a glass because I resist doing a little R&D last night, and I thought I'd had a lot of great pairings with Alsatian Riesling. I gotta tell you, a glass of Alsatian Riesling with a nice bath, if you haven't tried it, it's fantastic. I highly recommend. Yes, and food-wise, you know, probably you were pretty similar to what we were talking about with the last Riesling. I would delight in having this with a nice piece of fresh whitefish, right? Is there anything else? Is there something you've had that's been really unexpected that you've just loved experiencing with this wine?
Yeah, you are right. The Wiener, the granite Riesling, get very elegant, a lot of floral notes, very delicate taste. It's always suddenly the more open terroir. The wine opens up a bit earlier than Riesling, for example, Grand Cru Kefferkop from Marl, who needs a bit more time. So it is kind of very elegant, floral. Riesling are beautiful for me on river fish. Very delicate dishes, perhaps not so strong, spicy. It needs a very fine and delicate food.
Wonderful. Yeah, we get some beautiful river trout here that I think would be just fantastic with that. Beautiful. And now moving on, Pinot Gris. I'm so excited. The Kieferkopf Pinot Gris, Ghana 2018.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about Kieferkopf as a
so,
site.
So Pinot Gris Käferkopf is another Grand Cru close from Katzenthal on the village of Ammerschwir. It's our plots are located on marl and red sandstone soil, so much more rich and deep soil. It's very close from the Vinette Schlossberg, but you get a breaking fault in geology, a breaking fault, and the soil turns totally different. It was more rich and rich soil brings just a bit more power to the wine, a bit more wide wine with, I can say, perhaps a bit more softness in the mouth, and but with a very interesting finish, with a kind of salty and tannin finish, and that just balance it is very powerful wine. Pinot Gris is also a grape variety who brings more richness, so it is salty and tannic, ending just balance it is great power.
Yeah, there's a really pleasant bit of, that touch of phenolic nature to this wine, that little bit of that slight pleasant bitterness on the sides of the tongue that's just absolutely intriguing. This is a wine I feel like that just draws you in. It's sort of a little bit cheeky. It doesn't show everything at first. It kind of just slowly leads you down a path, and you keep wanting to go back for more and more. Yeah. I often feel as sommeliers, we go to Riesling often for pairings. I think that most sommeliers, we love Riesling. We know how food friendly it is. And I often wonder if we sometimes miss opportunities with Pinot Gris, and specifically with the complexity that is exhibited in Pinot Gris from Alsace. I wonder, in terms of what you would want to eat with this wine versus a Riesling, what have some of your favorite things that you have, some of your favorite pairings you've experienced with this Pinot Gris?
I think Pinot Gris, with this, I can say, a new kind of vinification, more dry style Pinot Gris, are just beautiful wine to match with white meat, poultry, all the terrine. Also, in France we also eat riz de veau.
The veal cheeks, the right? It's the veal, the riz de veau, the veal cheek. Is it?
Yeah, riz de veau. It's kind of une glande, je crois.
Okay. Yes, yeah.
And this kind of dishes are just beautiful with this more rich but dry wine. I think you can match with Pinot Gris. You have a lot of things, a lot of possibility for pairing. Perhaps 20 or 30 years ago, Alsatian Pinot Gris get a bit more rich with residual sugar. Now you can find really a lot of dry style Pinot Gris who are perfect matching with in Alsace, for example. We also match with all the meat pie, tourte or pâté en croûte. Also the very typical dishes, Bäckerhofer, with all the dishes with meat who are marinated with white wine. This kind of dishes works very well with Pinot Gris. For example, Bäckerhofer, that's a very traditional Alsatian dishes. All the three different meat marinade first in the white wine, and after cooking with the potatoes, and that's also a nice pairing with Pinot Gris.
My mouth is watering over here.
It's also all the mushroom also, all the creamy or mushroom dishes. Yeah, that's just perfect with this style of dry Pinot Gris.
Amazing. Yes, Stephanie was kind enough to jump in and translate for us. Sweetbreads, of course. Rita Vo, sweetbreads.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been too long since I've been to France. I need to get over there. Well, this has been wonderful. Felix, you grew up in Alsace. You never left. You chose to stay. What made you stay? What is so special about this region for you?
I think in Alsace we really get it's an area who we get a lot of a crossing area. So a lot of different people comes in this area since century. So it's a real area with a mix of culture.
A melting pot of sorts. Have you heard that? A melting pot?
Yes. Because it was it's quite in the middle of Europa. We are very close from Switzerland, Germany, Belgium. So Italy, it's all it's just an area how people cross, and no, it's the same with a lot of people who comes to visit. We have a lot of history, a lot of nice old buildings, and it's real. It's a little bit with German culture, but not only from German, because we have French. But so in France, we generally say you get Brittany, La Bretagne, Corsica, and Alsace. That's very characterful area in France, with so very strong character, strong culture, and
That sounds incredible. I certainly want to come visit. Yes, everyone should go visit Alsace now that we can hop on a plane. Yes. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, Felix, for joining us today. It was truly an honor to get to speak to you. I've long been a fan of these wines, so I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And please, Lunch with Alsace continues every month. We will have more wonderful vintners on. Typically first Monday, sometimes second Monday of the month, but just keep an eye on the Instagram feed. Follow @drinkalsace for more info, and you will hear about the next Lunch with Alsace. And thank you everyone so much for joining us. I am going to have to try not to pour myself another glass of Pinot Gris here at 9:30 a.m. in California. But if you are somewhere where it is lunchtime or dinner time, you should absolutely go out and get yourself a glass of Alsatian Pinot Gris and Meyer-Fonné if you can find it. Thank you so much. This is an absolute pleasure. Everyone have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're welcome in Alsace.
Thank you. I'll be there.
Bye-bye.